Hello, everybody, and welcome to our cast. We are very excited to have you all here with us today.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you for your continued support as we embark on this journey together, and really appreciate everybody's feedback. We'll continue to take on your feedback for future podcasts too. So, today I'm here with Jerome, and we want to talk about something important today that we have witnessed with our clients as they enter new markets or as they're also um, targeting their existing audiences, and that is the importance of what influences purchasing decisions. So, we're going to look at how consumer behaviors influence purchasing decisions and what you can do to be aware of these things and yeah, to ensure your success in targeting your audience.
I was just going to actually ask you to kind of explain to the audience what led you to pick this title because you picked the title today. So, what led you to pick this title?
Yeah, so I picked this topic because I think it's increasingly more and more important. You see a lot of marketing in every day. Every day, we're constantly receiving messages from marketing, from ads, and everything. And I think it's interesting to see which ones resonate and which ones don't resonate, and why some messages resonate versus while others don't. So, for example, just like looking at um, different examples, I guess when I travel, I love to see like the fast foods and how they target their menu to the specific audience.
Yeah.
So, I think it just goes to show how the different behaviors of consumers where they're at really shape like what a brand should do to reach their audience. So pretty much looking at the value of your target audience and then like positioning your branding to that.
Nice.
Mhm. Yeah. How about you, Jerome? Do you think there is an importance in how consumer behaviors shape like a purchasing decisions?
Elaborate. Like, what do you mean in importance?
Like, have you seen this? Have you seen consumer behaviors impacting a purchase decision, even for yourself, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'll use food. That's a great example. Like, it's definitely a lot of factors that contribute to that being an important thing and making like whatever it is that you have a taste for. For example, like I'll use the Popeye's chicken sandwich. You remember a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
That was the thing when word got out about the chicken sandwich, and it was just so popular and cheap that when word got out, every Popeyes in Atlanta, Georgia, because that's where we both was at the time, it was filled up. So food is one, clothing is one. For example, like workout gear. If you see somebody in workout gear because it's so comfortable and it's also very cheap and accessible, people are gonna go because they see it. People are gonna go head first into something. It's like trends. People love trends. So
Mhm.
yeah, trends. Once people see something trendy, they're gonna hop right onto it. So yeah, that's my perspective to
Interesting.
start off.
Yeah, I guess that's a great one that we can start off with is trends. How trends influence consumer purchasing decision. So I agree with Jerome here. I think trends definitely do, and I think the greater psychology behind that of like why people are influenced by trends. Maybe it's a thing of scarcity. Like, okay, this is trending, and like maybe there's a limited items of it, so I want to get it. So maybe it's like public perception or appearance from trending in that way. Maybe it's also fitting into the greater audience. Like this person has this, so it's the norm if I have it too. Like everybody has an iPhone. It's kind of trendy to have an iPhone. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna go buy a phone, you'll probably pick an iPhone more so because everybody else has an iPhone than because you really love the product specs of an iPhone
Hmm.
necessarily.
Yeah.
So I definitely see that.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I think this is all psychological though. I don't
Mm,
think because if you think about the definition of psychology and you apply that to like consumer purchases, behaviors, and decisions, it's all based on psychology.
it is.
Actually, I read a book 2 years ago, maybe called Contagious by Jonah Berger. And he was basically talking about actually what make things go viral, what makes information spread, what just makes people catch on to things. And I'll ask you, what do you think that is?
Mm, what makes things go viral?
Yeah, what makes people catch on to things? Like, for example, if I'm out in the mall shopping, right? I buy some
Mhm.
lotion. Um, how would you hear about that lotion? What will make you buy that lotion? So that's a perfect example to let you think about the question I
Hmm.
just asked you.
What would make me buy a particular product? Like, what would make it stand out?
Exactly. Like, why would you iPhone, right? Why would you buy an iPhone? Let's make it
Yeah,
simple. Why would you buy an iPhone? What would influence you to buy an iPhone?
I think it's tied to like for me personally, what would influence me to buy an iPhone is like the ease of use of it. Like I'm just like it's a very easy to use product and the marketing is everywhere for an iPhone and it catches my eye. So, but I don't know exactly why it captures my eye.
Exactly. So, like, what made an iPhone go viral? What made an
Yeah.
iPhone go viral? Think about it. And I'm gonna tie it all into the influence of consumer behavior when it comes to purchasing or making decisions to purchase something. So yeah, before you provide an answer, well, when you provide an answer, I'll provide feedback on everything in a nutshell.
Okay, so what makes Apple go viral? What has made Apple go viral?
Yeah, and also why did you purchase an iPhone? I'm tying everything into one, but I just want
I
to see what
think
your
what
answer is.
I think what made Apple go viral is like they focus on the consumer more than on the phone. Like even their advertisements, it shows like people and families and how they use the phone, how it improves their life and things like that. So I think they kind of use it as a way to like connect people together. I'm not really sure.
So not I ain't gonna say close, but no cigar, but no. So here's the answer to all of these questions, and also to the audience out there on what really makes what influences consumer behaviors to purchase things is word of mouth. It's simple.
Mm,
The reason why you bought an iPhone is because word of mouth. Because if you didn't see somebody with an iPhone, you wouldn't have known about the iPhone. You could do marketing, the price could be low, all that type of stuff. But if somebody didn't say, "Oh, I got this new iPhone. Here's what it
mhm,
does," you wouldn't know about that iPhone. So it is
mhm,
actually proven. And in the book, he actually said that 99.9% of our decisions of everything typically is through word of mouth. Like, and it's the same thing with consumer behaviors, like whether it's food, whether it's a place to travel. You just came from Bali, right? How did you hear about Bali? Through word of mouth. You can see it on YouTube or whatever the case may be, but you won't know about the features of the place unless it's via word of mouth. So, from my perspective, I think that is the number one thing that influences everything related to purchases, behavior, decisions, and even doing business with a business. Word of mouth. That's how people heard about the globally connected. In our
mhm.
podcast, what? Word of mouth. So yeah, what's your
True.
thoughts?
No, yeah, that's definitely right. I think word of mouth is a big influence on consumer decisions and consumers' behavior because yeah, when you hear about something, you're more likely to even look into it and more uh like inclined to maybe want it or because maybe you have people that you trust that like maybe are important to you or maybe people that you look up to or something and you see that they have shared like a liking to a particular product or something, then that influences you to go out there and look more into it and see if like you can get it. Like for example, there's many times like Jerome will tell me about a particular like vegetarian style meal like that he gets at the grocery store and then that will influence me when I go to the grocery store to look at that particular brand because I know he was like, okay, this was really good and I liked it.
Yeah,
And he also eats like vegetarian foods. So then me, rather than looking up, okay, what is the best vegetarian meat that I can get, I know that hey, he likes it and stuff. I think though there's other things that can influence like a decision too, but word of mouth is a really really important and big one.
yeah.
Um yeah. How about you? What are your thoughts on word of mouth?
I think it's like I said, I tried it out myself, right? Where I was working
Yeah.
at the time, I applied what he basically promoted in the book as far as word of mouth being the number one thing that
Mhm.
influences people's decisions, behaviors, and make things go viral. And I apply that on 5 different people. And I ask them the
Mhm.
same questions that I asked you. Like, why did you come here today? Like, why did you buy
Yeah.
that? And people was kind of like baffled, like, why are you asking me these things? And I had them thinking, like, because of marketing. Same thing you said, because somebody
Yeah.
else saw it or whatever. I like think about it though. Like it's very simple. But on a regular basis, you don't think about word of mouth being the number one reason or the primary reason on why you made the decision that you made. You don't go
Mhm.
to, for example, a mall unless you hear about a mall. You know,
Yeah,
like I use the Sprite
totally.
as an example in synagogue. You wouldn't have drunken a Sprite unless I told you, "Oh man, this Sprite is good." You see what
Yeah,
I'm
very
saying? Word of
true.
mouth. So
Yeah, we really influence each other so much, like as a human species. So, what can brands do knowing that word of mouth is one of the most kind of basic and important influences that they can get people to come to their business? What can they do to encourage word of mouth of their products? Like, do you think that's in the hands of the business owners to influence word of mouth?
I think is part about 90% of it, yes, because the consumers don't know what you're doing unless you're marketing and creating what you're doing. You're not gonna find a business unless you know about the business. So I like to say a business has to focus on the context. And I take this back from the book again, Contagious. In the book, he basically said consider the context. So when you create context, you have to create context that's kind of like over the top through the roof. Like in the example, he used the $100 Philly cheesesteak. So when people hear that, they're gonna be like, "Man, wow, why is this Philly cheesesteak $100?" That is gonna make you mind boggling, but also at the same time, because of the psychology aspect, you're going to be inclined to know about this cheesesteak and actually what made it $100, and you're going to want to have a taste at it. I use the Nipsey Hussle example. That's what he actually got the $100 mixtape, the Charge Crenshaw from. It was from that. Nobody in the music game at the time, still to this day, hadn't charged any product that they were selling for $100, right? So he's like, okay, let me charge this mixtape for $100, and you have to be proud to pay, which was the campaign to actually buy this mixtape. So people was like, who is this guy that think he could charge $100 for this mixtape? He must
Mm,
be one of them or the best or whatever it is that he do, right? That right
mhm,
there psychologically made people inclined to see who this guy is, why he charged the mixtape for $100, and it sold out like that. Even Jay-Z, Nipsey Hussle was not mainstream at the time, but even Jay-Z brought 100 copies of that. So that goes to
mhm,
show you like it's all about doing things that's like outlandish and outrageous and just making people
mhm,
psychologically want to know why this person did what they did. So yeah, it's
mhm.
all about considering the context, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
definitely. Yeah, I think that's a great example. That's also a great example of how you can use price to influence consumer behavior and decision. And in this case of what the example Jerome was talking about with Nipsey Hussle, may he rest in peace, is that you can use price to make the consumer kind of curious about what you're doing or curious about the quality too. When something's expensive, typically we mentally will perceive it as like better or higher quality or like something special about it. So in this case, using price for uniqueness and to draw attention is definitely a way that you can influence consumer behaviors. Actually, I read something recently about how like luxury brands, for example, they use price in the way that they'll list you their most expensive product first, and then going on you'll see the prices that are lower, because once you see that high product, once you see that high price, then your mind thinks associates the brand with that pricing, and that's like gonna be kind of the barrier that you set there. um Kanye kind of did something similar when he dropped like the Yeezy line. Initially back then, like it was like hundreds of dollars for like a plain t-shirt,
Mm,
but that helped his marketing strategy because he immediately associated like uniqueness and high price with his brand, and it became the norm for his products. Like people are willing to pay that price for that product. um I want to switch gears a little bit into another way too, like to understand consumer behavior, because price works like this. But say, for example, I'm trying to market a product in a country with high inflation.
Hmm.
It might not be too logical for me to set my product at a very, very high price point, and then expect for me to reach a high audience there. So that's where, as we've talked about, it's important to look at kind of the behaviors of the consumers of my target audience. So, for example, if I'm dropping a mixtape and I want to like create some sort of like high exclusivity and I want to price it high and make it very special, I could do something like that. But say, for example, I'm going to a country with high inflation like Argentina, and you know, I want to sell a product and I don't know what I want to sell or how I want to target the audience. Well, if I look at the audience, maybe they're a bit more price sensitive. Um, they are maybe trying to meet more, they're prioritizing meeting like the basic needs.
Hmm.
So maybe affordability and something accessible is more important to them in this case. So, for example, if I go in, maybe I have like a laundry product that I want to sell to the audience. I can, because I know that inflation has really touched the country, how can I use these consumer behaviors that they look for, affordability, accessibility, to my marketing? So maybe I can use more marketing messaging around saving money, around discounts, or offering coupons to get a price cut for the product, because my audience is more price sensitive in that way. So I think as we go into like different markets, it's going to be really important to understand like where your audience is at. So for example, if I'm going into the UAE, maybe they're more into like luxurious items and like something with prestige. Like as you see, like luxury cars are really successful in the UAE
Yeah.
because the symbolism there is like people want this, the thing that's expensive, and then I'll use my marketing messaging to appeal to this audience of people that are seeking prestige. And in that case, I'm not necessarily messaging them with coupons or affordability, but I'm more messaging them with the prestige they get from getting this product, or like how expensive and unique it is, how rare it is, and things like that. What do you think, Jerome? Do you think like kind of based on where you go, there's like a bit of a change there, or what different kind of things do you think influence consumer behavior purchasing decisions? So we've talked about like price, we've talked about word of mouth, we've also talked about like inflation, we've talked about luxury items, like someone more into prestige.
I would say relatability too. Like it doesn't matter if the price is low or high, but people also want to know is whatever it is you have, whether it's a service, is it relatable? Can I relate to it? I think again it goes back to the psychology. I've really realized that this isn't just being people purchasing things as consumers, it's all about relatability. Can you tap into my mind and make whatever it is that you're offering to me relatable? You know, I
Mm-hmm.
look at our business as an example, right? How the only way we can connect the people, it doesn't matter if our price is low, high, whatever the case may be, but it's can we relate to our target audience? You know, people
Mm-hmm.
go check out our podcast because they want to know if they can relate to it. That's what
Mm-hmm.
it's all about. So I think that's another key factor that a lot of people don't pay attention to. But I think that's a good one. Relatability. Is a need? Is this a need to me? Is it a necessity? You know,
Yeah.
so I think that's another one. Relatability and it being essential. Those are also some other key factors I would consider. What's your thoughts on those?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think relatability is important. And then, it's going to take doing like the work to understand your target audience. First of all, to define your target audience and then understand how you can relate to them. Like what are their needs? What are the things that are important to them? Just like with the other examples we talked about, like understanding the needs of the audience, I think that's where we can go back to like the hierarchy of needs too. Like if
Mhm.
they're trying to meet their basic needs, like how can we become relatable in that sense? Or what if someone is trying to meet more of like the societal needs, or maybe a mother is trying to meet the needs of her child, for example? Like how can I be relevant to that, and how can I speak in a way that like appeals to the values that she has too. So relatability is definitely key, and like putting yourself in the customer's perspective. I was reading this book about storytelling by Donald Miller, and he was talking about positioning your consumer as a hero, and
Hmm.
talking like if you like engage with the consumer like that, as if like they are the hero of your brand, like how their life can improve in this way, like things like that, it can also really really appeal to them more because you're more relevant to them, like you're positioning them on top. um
Hmm.
Another one that I think is interesting is also how you can use scarcity and loss, because I've recently been like kind of thinking about this and seeing it too, is like people are kind of more influenced by what they can lose than what they can gain sometimes, and
Really?
how you can use this. So for example, if I'm about to go book a flight, and this has happened to me many many times, I'm about to go book a flight and then I see there's only one seat left, then
Hmm.
I'm like, "Oh, I could lose this seat." So I need to like go and backtrack and like look at it like, "Okay, I'm not going to be able to find this seat again. I'm going to lose it, and I'm going to lose my seat in this plane, and so I really need to go and act and like make this purchase."
Hmm.
So rather than if they tell me like, "Okay, you can gain like 10,000 sky miles." Yeah, that's really great, but I'm more concerned about what I could lose than of not being able to get the seat. You see what I mean?
That's an interesting perspective. I've never looked at the influence of consumer purchases decisions and tie that into scarcity and loss. That's interesting. I wonder how many people actually apply those analogies to purchasing decisions. If you had to take a guess, how many what percentage do you think people apply that? Because that's very interesting.
You know, I don't know much about like what percentage of people. I feel like it's kind of like something that kind of happens in the moment without you even noticing it. Cuz I never noticed that I do this until I was reading up on an example of this, of people like acting on scarcity and loss. And then I started to think about, okay, when's a time where I'm like, okay, I could lose this item if I don't purchase it now. Like also say for example it's like a particular piece of clothing and they only have limited items left, like
Yeah,
only 3 left, then maybe I'm more inclined to make the purchase because I don't want it to get sold out, so I'm afraid of like that loss.
hmm.
Or what's another example? I think life insurance, right? I think that that's an example they kind of give on. It's about loss in a way. Like you would get life insurance because of kind of what your family would lose if you didn't have life insurance, you know? Like if you don't have life insurance, they're going to talk to you about like, okay, well your family's not going to get any money. Your family's going to be in an uncomfortable situation when you pass, and so you're thinking more on like what you could lose in that perspective.
That's a great example, actually. I don't know how many people actually apply, like
Yeah.
going through with that, but that's a perfect example because, like you said, scarcity and loss. It's kind of like it's a priority, and it's kind of like, well, if I don't get this, if something happens to a loved one, then I, as well as the family, is going to be in shambles. So
Mhm.
that's a great example. What are your thoughts on I guess how can people actually apply scarcity and loss and utilize it to prevent them from not making a purchase decision?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I think actually, you know what? The more I think about this, the more I see that like this kind of is used a lot in our day-to-day marketing, but maybe we don't catch on to it as much. Like for example, if I want to be like a healthy person and like I get an advertisement for like vitamins or something like that, I
Hmm.
think what would influence me more is like, okay, I could lose, like, you know, as a woman, they say like you lose collagen over the years. Like, I mean, not just as a woman, everyone. Like after 25, we start to lose collagen. That to me, like, is more of driver to make a purchase, because now that I've reached post 25, rather than when I was like 18, I don't really care because I know I'm producing more and more collagen every day. But once I start to realize that there's something that I could be losing because if I don't like purchase this, or if I don't implement these practices into my life, then it will result into a loss. It's kind of like motivating in a bit. You see?
You
So
trying to
I
say I'm
think,
losing collagen?
huh?
You trying to say I'm losing collagen?
I think we all are. I mean, apparently, I don't know if it's true, but apparently after 25, we all start to lose collagen.
No, I mean I was just joking.
But
I
yeah,
mean,
it's kind of like when you start to think about what you would not have if you don't practice this, kind of like working out. Like,
yeah,
yes, people work out because they want to gain muscles and stuff, but they also work out because they don't want to, gain weight or be unhealthy or feel unhealthy or get disease and things like that.
yeah. Um, to your point, we want to talk it back to like the scarcity of loss. And
Hmm.
we talking about working out. I work out for stress purposes and also to like prevent strokes. So that
Mm.
scarcity and loss, it's not influencing the purchase decision because you're not purchasing anything, but also you
Purchasing a
kind of
gym
are purchasing
membership.
any. Well, you kind of are purchasing something though, because if we think about it, if you are to catch a stroke or something happens to you, you have to go
Hmm.
to the emergency room and you do got to come out of pocket for something. So it kind of
Yeah.
is a sense in the same, some similarity. It's just not a business aspect. So
Hmm.
that's a good one. Thanks for bringing that up. Audience, I would like to know you guys' thoughts on the scarcity of laws, relating that to consumer purchases, decisions, and have you ever thought about the aspect of scarcity of laws? So that's a good
Hmm.
one. That was a good one, Gigi. That was a good one.
Yeah, and to our audience and to us too, maybe we can take awareness a little bit in the marketing that we see around us, and examples of like when maybe they're using scarcity or loss to influence our purchasing decisions too.
Yeah. Okay. How do
Hmm.
you think, I guess we as business owners, but also, yeah, I'll start with that. How do you think we as business owners can improve with I guess influencing or the influence that we have when it comes to consumer purchases and influencing their decisions to do business with us or
Hmm.
subscribe to the YouTube channel? How can we influence people to
Yeah.
subscribe to our YouTube channel more?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a matter of like just understanding our audience more and understanding the audience that we want to capture more. So, our podcast is centered around business topics. So, our audience is mostly like business owners or people that are interested in becoming a business owner or who work in marketing and they want to understand how to reach their target audience. So, understanding what their needs are, what their day to day habits are, what influences their decisions to watch something, for example. Like, why would you pick our podcast to spend an hour of your time on our podcast versus another? What value can we give to you? That's why we also really talk to you guys directly and want to gather that feedback too, which I think is important for business owners to do when they're understanding their target audience. Because to be honest, for us, we're still new to this podcast. We don't necessarily fully or understand our target audience yet, too. But the more and more we engage with you guys, the more feedback we get from you guys, the better we'll be able to serve you guys. And I think that translates as well to business owners, is like understanding your target audience. This is like, I want to give this example out because until I moved to this side of the world, like I never understood QR code payments. That's something I've never seen in my life.
Hmm.
But now that I live here, I know that if I want to target anybody within Thailand or in China, for example, like I'm going to have to have like an option for them to pay using like a QR code, because that's the norm here, is like you scan a
Hmm.
QR code to make a payment. That's
Well,
something I wouldn't have understood until I really took a look at the people to understand what their habits are and what is the norm here. So, as a business owner, if you, for example, are expanding into a new country, which is where Jerome and I are here to help, because we primarily want to help you look at your target audience in that new country and what their habits are, what the trends are of the place, what things you should be aware of from a technological, sociocultural, economic, political, everything, all these different areas, like what you can look at to understand that target audience before you enter that new market. Like Burger King, literally every country I visit, the menu is completely different.
Yeah.
Like here in Thailand, they have rice. They have rice at Burger King. You can get chicken and rice at Burger King, but you wouldn't see that in America. But
No.
Burger King made sure to understand that here rice consumption is really big, and if I want to be successful in the market of Thailand, I'm going to have to introduce rice on the menu because that is important to the culture and the people that I'm targeting.
That goes back to word of mouth too, though, because they
Yeah.
had to figure out the culture here, word of mouth, to understand that we need to have this on that menu. See, I'm telling you, word of mouth.
Exactly, word of mouth. Because also, if I'm here and I hear, oh yeah, they have rice at Burger King, in the menu here. Then, oh really? They got rice? You liked it? Was it good? Yeah. Okay, cool. Now I'm gonna go. And then like it's gonna grow and boom more and more and more. I totally agree with Jerome that word of mouth is huge, and it's it's like very kind of like a blessing too that word of mouth is still, because that's like we can go as far back as to like early marketing. Word of mouth is like one of the first things used, is like, hey, I really like this product, like you should try it out, and then somebody else goes and tests it out. Word of mouth has pretty much stood across history to like stand as like a strong marketing tactic.
Yeah, it'll never go away. Me personally, I don't think that'll ever go away.
I don't think so either, because it's part of the human condition. Like we are influenced by other people. Like we are interconnected and influenced by each other, and we influence others and they influence us. So, yeah.
I want you to, for those in the audience who may not, fully grasp the concept of consumer purchases decisions, do you want to elaborate and define that for the audience?
hmm So, you'd like me to define like what consumer purchasing decisions are?
Yes.
Yeah,
Just so you
so
can understand, for those who may not understand or fully grasp the concept.
Yeah. So, like as we've been talking about, it's looking at like what influences your client to make a purchase. That is what the kind of whole of consumer purchasing decision is. Like, what are their motivators to make a decision? So, like we've talked about, there's different things like word of mouth can influence them. That's a motivator for them. Maybe price sensitivity is a motivator for them, so understanding that about your audience. Maybe they're more into like their prestige in a certain place, so you, because you know that, you're going to do your marketing to appeal to that audience or your branding in that way. So it's really understanding what makes your customer either choose to buy something or not, or what motivates them in their day-to-day life in general to do stuff. Like when a teacher is going out there to buy things for her students, what motivates her to do this? Like what impact does she want to do? What are her values? And so really really putting yourself in the shoes of your customer and why they would make the decision to do something. That's how I would define it.
What and to follow up, what influences you to purchase something
Me
as a consumer?
personally,
Yeah, you, Gigi. Your name Gigi,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. So for me, it really depends on where I am, okay? Because
Hmm.
my purchasing decisions in America versus here are quite different.
Okay.
Here in Thailand, if you are trying to target to me, Gigi, as a consumer, you know that I'm here for a good time, not a long time. So I'm not here forever, and I have limited 2 suitcases to take back to America with me. So I am very, very, very conscious of what I purchase out here. Whereas in the US, maybe I see something, I like it, I would buy it. Here, I think like 3 times, maybe 10 times before I buy something because I think about my
Mhm.
luggage space. Is this
Mhm.
something that I want to take back with me back home? Is it something that I can fit? So I'm buying things that are very very specific to my needs and likings. Like I'm not going to buy like 10 t-shirts. Maybe I'll buy like 2 really nice t-shirts that I like that I would take back home with me. Cuz for me here in Thailand, my purchasing decisions are kind of driven in a way by scarcity, I guess. And it's a little bit driven by like minimalism, I guess. Like I can't have too much stuff out here cuz I know I got to transport it all back. So but in America maybe I'm more influenced by kind of like my day-to-day things, and like I know I have a place that I can store things, so I'm not really thinking too much like do I have room to keep this? Like I'm more so like, okay, is this a good deal? Is it something I really like? Another thing you just made me realize is here in Thailand, it's better to target me with like food and experiences because that's what my that's what my motivators right now here are. These are things that I'm not going to have to carry with me in a suitcase in a plane 24 hours away or 24 hours away, but if you are targeting me for an experience, for eating good food, having a good time, traveling somewhere, that's more where I can be targeted as like a foreign person living in a foreign country.
Hmm. That's a
Yeah.
good breakdown.
Yeah. How about you, Jerome? Like Jerome today, how can I target you? What are your motivators for your purchasing decisions?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of in some ways similar to you based on the location, but I would say it's kind of still the same, about 80%, no matter where I'm at. So for me, I'm kind of one of the people who like things that are exclusive and luxury. You know, for example, like no matter if it's a book, like I paid legit $70 for a book before, but typically people won't pay that amount of money. But I paid that amount of money for this particular book because of the feedback and the comments that I saw other people comment and how it made them actually get great results based on the pursuit of what they was trying to do. And the person who was the author of the book, it was like, oh, okay, it's great, valuable information. It was credible. So for
Mm,
me, I like things that are exclusive, things that, a lot of people can't really get access to or don't want to actually spend the money to get access towards. Like for me, like fragrances, I'll spend a lot of money on fragrances.
mm,
That's like my what's the word I'm looking for? It's not like my happy place. That's like my happy place, things that I do. So yeah, I like nice things, and I don't mind paying a lot of money for it, whether it's food, but also at the same time, I'm also logical too, to where I'm not going to spend $100 on a meal that doesn't make sense if I'm not getting a quantity of food to match the
mhm.
price. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's me, man. That's me.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
things
that's
of value.
interesting.
That's it, of value, things of value.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. I think, it stuck out to me when you said like you'd pay $70 for a book because, you heard that this will actually help you out.
Mhm.
You've heard from other people that it gave them like a huge impact on their life and stuff. So it looks to me like one of your needs of like self actualization, like on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like self actualization, like pretty much reaching the highest part of yourself, of your soul, of your evolution. That's something that somebody can use when they're marketing to you, is understanding that this is important to you. It's important to you to reach like your evolution, to acquire intelligence and things. So when they're marketing to you, they can use language like this and show you examples of how it can help you reach that rather than focusing on like, oh, this is a New York best selling author. Maybe that's
Yes.
not as important to you, more so about the value that you get out of it. Or maybe like the imagery on the book is not as important to you, it's more so like the contents that you get out of it.
Yeah. I
Mm,
I don't know if this is a good way to actually tie it to anything, but long story short, I make my purchases decisions based on me getting the highest return on my investment that I make in the decision.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So whether that's food, I'm eating the food that's going to make my body feel good now and later.
yeah,
I'm purchasing cologne based on how it's going to make me smell now and also last longer later. I'm reading books
yeah.
based on how it's going to make me actually apply what I learned now and later. So yeah, that's how I
Mm,
make my purchasing decisions. Yep.
nice. Yeah. Yeah, for me with food, I don't know, sometimes I'm just like, "Ooh, that smells good. Ooh, I'm really craving this right now."
We
So
the
I'll
same
get
type
a
of food though, man.
No, I've expanded my horizons. Like
Okay.
I ate like a spinach pumpkin ravioli last night with a truffle sauce. It was really good.
Still pasta though. You still love pasta. Something to do with noodles or something.
Yep, it's
Matter
good.
of fact, what influences your decision to keep eating pasta? Or like just yeah, what
I just
influences your
like it. I like pasta. Is it a crime? I love pasta. It just tastes really good. It's easy. I can cook it at home. I can go out and eat it. Obviously, I won't eat pasta every single day because that's not good for you. But I enjoy eating pasta. It's just like my comfort food. It makes me happy. I think for me, like, I really am into like things that taste nice and make me feel good. And for me, pasta makes me feel good and it tastes good.
do you think people make decisions based on what makes them feel good? Or do you think people even consider the aspect of things making them feel good and happy when they purchase
For sure. I think so
items?
many people make decisions on what makes them feel good. And then, like, there's also people who make decisions on, like, what will, like, their safety, their security,
Yeah.
their long term well being, like, an immediate pleasure, like the taste of something tasting good, the well being of their family, too. Like, if I'm going to go out there, like, when I bought my car, I didn't buy a car based on like what makes me personally feel good, but I thought about a bunch of things like the safety of my family, the security that they will have in the car, like the comfortability of the car and things like that, rather than just thinking about like the look of the car or something like that. So many factors I think go into a person's purchasing decisions, and it really depends on what they're purchasing, cuz again, like if I'm trying to sell a product that meets people's like basic physiological needs like food, shelter, etc. Like I have to understand like what influences those decisions for them, if it's affordability, accessibility, if they want luxury in terms of that. And then I also have to understand like if I'm targeting someone based on like a dessert or something, like
Mhm.
what is the decision they're making to make that dessert? What will influence them to get a dessert? Is it like a day out with their friends and they want to like share a good vibe together, like go to a cafe? Then maybe I'll want to introduce some unique desserts to them and things like that. You
What,
see?
yeah, I see. What suggestions you have for those in the audience who don't know what influences the purchase decisions or what factors they don't know how to use or apply to be able to make purchase decisions for themselves?
Yeah, no, I think like if you don't know, that's okay. It's good to determine that you don't know. And
Mm.
then you can like being able to identify. Like I think everyone in our audience, we're suggesting you to think about what influences your customers' purchasing decisions, cuz that's really the purpose of this podcast here today, is to kind of urge you to think about that. Because maybe you haven't thought about that yet, or maybe you have and it's been a while since you've thought about it and you've been following your existing marketing. But we're kind of urging you to take a step back and look at your consumers and think about what influences their purchasing decisions. And then from there, see if you need to pivot something, if you need to pivot your marketing strategy a little bit to fit more about what influences your customers to make their decisions. So think about their habits, think about their day to day, think about what their values are, think about what their motivations are, think about why people have told you already that they purchase your product and the feedback that you've gotten from them. Okay, so if you've heard that, okay, I purchased this because I really, really love the smell of your perfume. It just really sticks out to me, like the vanilla tones and stuff. Like, okay, so this is what stands out to your target audience. How can I appeal to other people that would have this similar liking than that? And how can I use that in my marketing and my messaging as well?
Okay.
Yeah. How about you? What would you say to the audience when it comes to like if they do or don't already understand their consumers' purchasing decisions and what they can do about that?
Yeah, I would kind of add on to what you were saying. But I will also just say also just don't go in there with the aspect of gaining anything that's not of value, anything that's unethical. So I
Yeah.
want to say you got to kind of like utilize the positive human aspect of what it is that you're trying to get out of whatever it is that you're using to influence consumers to purchase something or for consumers, whatever it is that you may be purchasing. So you got to look at what exactly is their brand, what is their values,
Mm,
and does that align with who you are as a human being? All the other stuff aside, and then apply,
that,
does it relate to who you are as a consumer, as a business,
mm,
and your ultimate goal of what you're trying to be? Because I think a lot of times people can kind of negate or like not even be cognizant of those things. So, and I think when you look at the successful brands, I think they kind of apply those things, and that's what make them have staying power for so long. Like the Nikes, for examples, the Adidas, for examples, the McDonald's, the Burger Kings, the Walmarts, those are like some businesses or great brands that apply those logic and analogy. So for me, I think those are the things, I would say.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, nice. Totally agreed. Like, keep the human aspect in there because at the end of the day, your marketing is to humans. So understand these humans and keep your values and their values in mind too.
And just keep it simple too.
Hmm.
We a lot of times we make things more complicated than what they're supposed to be, but just keep it simple, man. Just keep
Yeah,
it.
true.
People love simple too. People love simple a lot,
Yeah,
actually.
very true. Like
Yeah.
Nike, just do it. Simple,
Simple.
but motivating. Motivating and targeting an audience of people that, maybe care more about like their individual needs, acquiring things in their career and their workouts and this and that. So it's like just do it. Like that. Motivation. Simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All
Any
right,
last
guys.
thoughts?
I think that's a wrap for today. I think we covered, many things. Just to sum it up, understand your consumers' behaviors, understand their values, what drives their purchasing decisions, and see how you can use this to shape your marketing strategy. And as always, we Globally Connected Group would like to thank you for joining us today. Let us know any feedback that you have, any topics you'd like us to discuss. And if you need help with your business and you're looking for a consultant to help you out, we're here to help.
Yeah, we thank you guys for another episode. We hope you enjoyed the content. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, at GCG Worldwide to our YouTube channel. And let's continue to enjoy this journey and ride together.
Yeah.
All
Peace,
right.
guys.
Peace.
Bye.